Dr. Ogando, welcome. Good morning. And everyone, good morning. Thank you for being here. And today we have a cool question. And I love how you were saying it, Dr. Ogando. We can't opt out necessarily of having a personal brand. You can opt out from posting, but not from your personal brand.
That's right.
So so let's dive into that conversation.
Yeah, because your personal brand isn't a social media strategy. It's not a self-promotion campaign. It's the conclusion that people repeatedly draw about you when they experience you, right? So at work, in your business, that conclusion is being formed every time that you contribute in a meeting, every time you solve a problem, how you respond under pressure, how you introduce yourself, whether and how you disagree with someone, your follow through or lack of follow through, how you post online, how you advocate for an idea, how you enter a room. I mean, all of those things make up the conclusion that people draw about you when they experience you. So that's why I say you can't opt out of having a personal brand, even if you opt out of posting on LinkedIn or on Instagram or whatever. Um, and so it's not so much about becoming an influencer or posting constantly or being self-promotional. It's certainly not about manufacturing an image in the kind of devious way that we assume manufacturing means. But it's before social media, it was just called a reputation. And reputation is simply more visible, more searchable, more transferable, and scalable today because of social media, because of how easily accessible all of us tend to be. But I want to ask you a question and then I want you to think about it. You don't have to answer it. It's not a confession time, but I just want you to think about it for yourself. Answer it for yourself. If five people who work with you were sitting together in a room without you, what three words would consistently come up about you? I'm going to ask it again so that you can percolate. If five people who work with you were sitting together in a room without you, what three words would consistently come up about you? Right? Write that down for yourself. If you feel courageous, you can put it in the chat if you want, so we can all talk about it. Now, the harder question, the part B of that question, are those three words words you would have chosen for yourself? Because sometimes they're not. And your personal brand has, I'm going to say, like if you were to draw a Venn diagram, it's three things, it's three dimensions. It's what people know you for, it's how people experience you. So this might be like your expertise, this may be how you deliver it, your personality, your way, how people experience you, and then what people trust you to deliver. So what they know you for, how they experience you, and what they trust you to deliver. That's your personal brand, and authority comes in when all of those three things align and when they all come together. So the reputation piece, think about what are you known for? What can people count on you for in your business, in your work, in your industry? What do they know that they can count on you for? And in terms of visibility, who actually knows that you can do it? Because excellence that nobody sees has limited leverage. We can all agree on that, right? Being excellent is necessary, especially to stand out, to shine in a very crowded marketplace and so forth. But being known for the right excellence, that's different. That requires some strategic visibility, right? And so I want you to think about from when you start crafting your strategy around your personal branding, I want you to complete this sentence. When my ideal client or when my organization or when my whoever you do work for, I'm going to say ideal client because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. When my ideal client needs blank, I want my name to immediately come to mind. So I want my name to immediately come to mind when my ideal client needs what? That blank is the beginning of your strategic personal brand. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Are you putting up what I'm putting down? You picking up what I'm putting down? Right. So I want to give you some like practical, tactical ways to implement this or to go deeper with it. Some of us have this problem and won't admit it. Some of us don't have this problem at all. If it's not for you, let it flow. Strategy number 1. Stop trying to sound smart. Stop trying to sound smart. Instead, create clarity. One of the things that Gio sometimes makes fun of me about some of the stuff that I say, because a lot of it has cultural references, musical and movie quotes and things like that, right? So I'm very pop culture-ish in that way. But it creates clarity because people get it immediately, right? When I say, for example, when I use the Jerry Maguire analogy, like the way that I communicate through conflict, you know that Jerry Maguire scene when in the locker and he's like, you think we're fighting? I think we're finally talking. People can relate to that because 1, they've probably seen the movie. 2, they probably think it's funny. 3, it's disarming and charming in a way. So it actually speaks very well about, or very accurately about the tone of conflict resolution that I'm trying to land on people, right? And so when you create clarity in that way, sometimes through metaphors, sometimes through movies, etc., but when you create clarity in that way, you amplify the possibility of people actually connecting, of people actually receiving your challenge and going to the conclusion that you want them to go to. So before you speak, I want you to get clear for yourself. Am I creating clarity from the words that I'm using? Strategy number 2 is to become associated with a particular lens. A leader might consistently ask, well, what does the customer experience here? What are we assuming? What's the financial implication? La, 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 la. And if you consistently ask the question about operations or about financial implications or about future planning, right? Like if you're always the person that says, what happens 6 months from now if we do nothing or if we do this, et cetera, right? So if you consistently ask those questions, the room over time begins to associate you with that particular kind of intelligence. That's branding. So you probably already have a lens that you see things through, that you make decisions from, et cetera, et cetera. And so you want to make sure that you just own it. Instead of it just being a default of your personality, have it be a strategic part of your branding. Yeah. And then the third strategy that I'm going to say is speak earlier. And I'm specifically asking this of the women in the room and of minorities in the room. Speak earlier. You don't have to dominate. But when you establish intellectual presence earlier, then that strong contribution changes how others perceive your participation for the remainder of the meeting. Sometimes we wait until minute 52 to make a brilliant point because we want to be humble, because we want to give other people the chance, because we want to test the temperature of the room, etc. But when you establish your presence and your contribution earlier, you actually are the temperature. Okay? One last one, I'm going to give you number 4, because this one I have had challenges with, and I've also had to practice this. So I'm not speaking from an ivory tower. I'm speaking from a fellow journeyer on the path, and that is practice strategic brevity. Practice strategic brevity. Sometimes we dilute ourselves and our own authority because we're over-explaining. And when you just pack a punch in your communication, wow, that's clean, that's memorable, that's useful. Do you know what I mean? And so when you can use these 4 strategies together, then that influences or that directs the way that you can, for example, network without becoming networky. You know what I mean? So it's not just about collecting contacts, it's about creating professional memory. It also influences the way that you approach your social media, because your social media can then be like your digital boardroom. People can encounter your digital reputation before they encounter you. A lot of times, especially nowadays, people Google you and do some due diligence in researching your digital footprint, your social footprint before they hire you, before they promote you, before they invite you to speak, before referring you, before investing with you, before recruiting you, before considering you for a board position, before taking your meeting. So your online presence really does become pre-meeting positioning, your due diligence, as it were. And so what you want to publish out there, a lot of times we get caught up with, I don't want to be dancing, I don't want to do the weird thing or whatever. You don't have to do that unless it's part of your personality. But the 4 content types that you should be considering publishing is your expertise in terms of teaching what you know, your perspective, evidence, and then your humanity, your relatability. People need enough context to understand the human being behind the expertise. So authenticity doesn't require unrestricted access. You can be personable without making everything public, right? And then the thing that I'm going to say about that, your online presence being kind of like your pre-meeting positioning, is also you being consistent without necessarily becoming a content creator. You don't have to post daily. You don't need volume. You need association. You need quality, right? If someone reads 10 things from you over the next several months, they should begin recognizing recurring themes. Yeah. So when you can think of what do I want to be known for, how do I want people to experience me, and how do I want to be remembered for, right? Then those things start informing the way that you show up online, informing the way that you show up in meetings, informing even what you say yes and what you say no to. Some people might invite you to certain boards or invite you to certain conferences, invite you to certain meetings, etc. It may or may not align with who you say that you are. So that's important because self-promotion is always like, look at me, look at me, look at me, and you want to be seen and you want to be out there, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're strategic about your personal branding, what you're saying is, I'm deliberately making my value easier to recognize. Sometimes people say, well, my work should speak for itself. I'm going to check you on that assumption, because work does not speak. People speak. Right? And so if decision makers, if ideal clients, if your organizations cannot connect outcomes to your contribution, then your professional leverage, your leadership leverage is weaker than it should be. So you want people talking about your work, not just your work talking about itself, because it won't do that. So I want to talk with you about what comes up on this, where you feel that maybe you're doing well at, and where you think that you might need to take some ground to actually be strategic in your personal branding. Let me hear if you have any questions or if you want me to just keep going, because I could talk for the entire 30 minutes. But I don't want to have you feeling like you're drinking water from a fire hose. So if you have questions, let's chat about it. Or you can
So,
write, keep going.
like both.
Both what? What?
Like, keep going and let's talk too.
Yes, okay. So do you have a question? Okay.
I like what you were pointing to, or I recognize something for myself to be in the inquiry of,
Okay.
which is, I like when you were saying there are 2 things that I want to take from the conversation. One is you don't have three things. The first one is you don't have to post, you don't have to participate in social media, but you can't opt out of personal branding. That leaves me uh, responsible for what I can no longer opt out of, right? And so what am I going to do? What before what we used to call reputation now is personal branding, right? So what am I going to do? And one of the things that you were saying was, and I find it really useful, which is when someone looks for information about me, they're often going to go to social media or going to go to Google.
Yeah.
When they go to Google, it will send them to social media, whether it's LinkedIn or somewhere else.
Mhm.
And when that person gets there, what do I want them to know about me? And what I'm hearing you're saying is it's critical to be responsible for what people hear about me. And so write it down, like what do you want them to hear and know about me?
Mhm.
And the other thing you said, which was a lot of us, I would say, I will include myself in it, think, well, my work speaks for me. And I really like what you said, and with the movement too, like your work doesn't speak, you speak, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And that's I think I find it difficult to comprehend what you mean by your work doesn't speak. Like I really want my work to speak for me, but it's very important to get that work doesn't speak. It's like I want what I do and the impact it does and the contribution and the effectiveness to say something about me.
Correct.
But you're saying it won't. People speak.
That's right.
So it's almost like an invitation to be responsible for the narrative I am. Anyway, would you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, part of it looks like knowing who it is that will speak about you, right? So you want to know who the influencers are in your industry or in your network, the people who can raise your visibility. And then what do you want them to know about your work? So what that looks like in a practical sense is when you have a catch-up lunch or when you have a meeting, when you go on Zoom and you have these kinds of conversations, etc. What do you want them to know? What do you want to point them to in your work, right? So, for example, you might show them, the other day when we were at that mastermind meeting together, you had an amazing presentation about the Empire Code. And so you want to talk about certain pieces and the parts that people find most challenging because that's the kind of work that you do, that's what you coach people on, et cetera, right? So you're being very strategic about what you're talking about and what you want to be recognized for, so that then they know how to talk about you. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
absolutely. And so part of that looks like when you publish, some people aren't going to be on social media, but they love doing like the what is it called, a Substack or a Patreon, where they can have longer form content that they can actually, like, it's an essay or it's where they can do their thinking a little bit more strategically and kind of curate the public, right? And so when you can show people that kind of thinking, that kind of intelligence, that too is part of your personal branding. That too is part of you putting your perspective on the ways that you communicate about the problems that your clients are facing? Yeah, great question. Who else has something? Doing some homework? I can give you some homework. I have a 5-question audit for you. A
Okay,
five question audit. All right. So here are some of the things that you want to write down. And here, my first disclaimer is, you probably have heard the quote, the truth will set you free, but it might piss you off first. So use these questions with the brutal honesty, not brutal, but with the raw honesty that it will require in order for it to be useful for you to be strategic. Okay, so question number 1 out of 5. Question number 1. What are the 3 things that I am currently known for? Just we talked about that earlier. What are the 3 things that I am currently known for? If the people that work with you or that have worked for you or with you or under you, etc., were to be in a room without you, what would they say about you? What are the 3 things that I'm currently known for? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what are the 3 things that I want to be known for? Yeah, because if you can notice that gap, then it's like, okay, so here's where I need to focus. Okay. So question number 1, what 3 things am I currently known for? Question number 2, what 3 things do I want to be known for? Okay. Question 3, where are the right people currently seeing my expertise? Where are the right people currently seeing my expertise? So do they see it in meetings? Do they see it in LinkedIn? Do they see it in conferences? Do they see it in internal presentations, or do they see it nowhere? That's important. You need to know, where are they currently seeing your expertise? Number 4, and this is where the authentic honesty really gets choppy sometimes. What behavior may be unintentionally weakening my brand? What behavior may be unintentionally weakening my brand? Maybe you're chronically late. Maybe you talk too much. Maybe you disappear in important meetings. Maybe you're inconsistent in your follow through. Maybe you're reactive or impulsive. Maybe you over explain or mansplain. Or maybe you don't have a point of view. You just go along with the crowd. So you weaken your brand by not being recognizable. So what behavior may be unintentionally weakening your brand so that you can then correct it? And then the last question, what one association do I want to deliberately strengthen over the next 90 days? Today is August 10th, 2026. 90 days from now is October 11th. No, it's November 11th. So from here to November, what one association do I want to deliberately strengthen over the next 90 days? Because your personal brand is not what you announce about yourself. It's what other people learn to expect from you. Now you can control what people and curate what people learn to expect from you. How you show up in a meeting, how you introduce yourself, the decisions you make, the posts you publish, the promises you keep or don't. Those are all part of your branding. And the objective isn't to become more visible for visibility's sake. The objective is to make your reputation accurately reflect the value, the leadership, the influence that you're capable of bringing to the room. You just want to be more conscious of how you're already doing that. And then change what you don't like. Look at Giovanni taking notes. Love it.
I am. I was. It leaves me, the questions, they leave me very responsible for what people say, for what I say, where do I say it, who do I want to associate myself, so who do I want them to have the right conversation that I am committed to. And also you pointed to another one, and I think it's really useful, is to see what behavior I have that contradicts the message I want to be known for,
Yes.
and that one is a difficult one to see. Now, let me ask you this question. When in the question number one, what are the three things that I am currently known for? Um, would you recommend asking people what are
Yeah.
the three? Yeah, because I don't know what I imagine, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course. You would need some feedback from people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I remember a long time ago, a long time ago, I was doing this communication course, and it was about, they said in this course I took, they said that communication, a big aspect of communication is how I leave people after I leave the room.
Yes.
How I leave people. What do people say when I leave the room? Not
That's
when I
great.
am in the room. It's like that's what you're communicating. So I had to go around asking people, what not quite what are the three things that I'm currently known for, but it was something like, what can you count on me for? And this was many years ago. Have I told you this was many years ago? Have you heard that from me? It was a long
Mhm.
time ago. Okay. This person said many years ago, this person said, I can count on you to hurt me.
Oh, one.
Yeah. And I was so shocked. Like when you were saying the truth will set you free, the raw truth. And this is someone dear to my heart, and certainly I felt the same way, the way she felt. This was a friend, she felt about me. And I said, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not true. Like, I really wanted to defend myself.
Yeah.
And she said, every time you promise something and you don't keep it, it hurts me. And I can't count on you. I never heard that before. And so it left me really mindful and responsible. She did left me really mindful and responsible for being in constant communication with the people I care about.
Yeah.
Anyway, that this conversation triggered that for me.
Okay. But it's a long time ago. That's not just not my experience of
Oh,
you today.
no. Thank you, Dr. Ogando. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here. And I really want, I really want to support those of us who are here in the Leadership Huddle. We're here because we want to take our leadership to the next level, and we want it to, um, not just for the sake of saying I did a great thing, but for the sake of helping others, for the sake of doing the great work that we're meant to do here in the world. And so when you have these kinds of questions, I want you to reach out to me. I want you to be in communication about it, right? Sometimes you probably have heard the phrase, be a demand for coaching. Yeah. And being a demand for coaching, sometimes people hold back from that because they're like, well, I don't want her to sell me a coaching package. I just want to answer a question. Well, then ask the question. Huh? So you have us here, you have me here. You can always email me, Monica at monicaogando.com. And the first rule of everybody should know this, that the first rule of selling is consent. Just like the first rule of sex is consent. The same thing with selling, because it's a dance, right? And so if you don't want to dance with me, I don't want to dance with you either. But that's what consent solves, right? And so if you want support, please contact me. And please live through the tenets that we talk about here in the Leadership Huddle. Love always, laugh as much as possible, as loudly as possible, because it's contagious. Stress less, yes. Eat more plant-based food. Give of yourself, your talent, your abilities, your patience, your tolerance, your understanding. Sleep at least 7 hours, preferably 9. That's just my personal preference. Okay. Move your body. Remember that twerking is a Kundalini raising spiritual exercise. And as always, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Audit your assumptions. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Ciao.